Hello, I'm Richard, Clinical Specialist Prosthetist with the OSRA Academy, and this is an introduction to the Iceross liner range. The Iceross concept, a discussion of a philosophy, was the title of a paper presented by Åse Christensen and published in the ISBO journal back in 1993. A concept used in the 1980s in Iceland, it today remains the most comprehensive range of liners available to you and your end users. Now, Iceross stands for Icelandic Roll-On Silicon Socket, and we often use the term interface because this best describes the junction between the user's skin and their soft tissue and the load-bearing components of the prosthesis, namely the prosthetic socket. And it's these three components together that must work together to give your users the best possible long-term prosthetic socket use. Now, we have a huge range of liners, and one of the best and easiest ways to categorize this is to look at them by suspension method. That's the way we suspend the prosthesis from the user's residual limb. So let's take a closer look. Here we have three examples of our different suspension methods, starting with our Iceross locking liners, and it's illustrated here with this Iceross Synergy locking liner. Locking liners are characterized by this distal component, and this features a 10mm threaded insert into which, for example, we can place this connecting pin. This pin would engage with a socket lock as part of the socket, and it's this mechanical connection between the prosthesis and the interface that can provide users with a great sense of security and increased confidence. Moving on, we have an example of our Iceross sealing liner range. This example is Iceross Dermo HSM, and HSM here stands for hyperbaric sealing membrane. And as with all our sealing liners, it's the membrane which seals against the inside of the socket wall, and when used in association with a one-way expulsion valve, creates a vacuum inside the socket that provides total suspension for the user. A great feeling of confidence, easy to don and off, and also a super low build height. And finally, we have this example of an Iceross cushion liner, here Iceross Comfort Cushion. Although it doesn't feature any integrated suspension components, this is very simple to use, might be used with a knee sleeve, also might be used with an expulsion valve, but it's a simple, robust and reliable suspension method for the end user. Each of our liners have a number of unique features, and it's selecting the right combination of these characteristics that can help you optimize the long-term success of your user's socket fitting. One feature that's been available since the inception of the Iceross liner is something we simply called the stabilizing matrix. If you take a look at this post-op liner, for example, you can see quite clearly where the stabilizing matrix is. One of the functions of the stabilizing matrix is to minimize what we call longitudinal displacement. So that means minimal stretching in this direction where the stabilizing matrix is, yet you can see higher up the liner we have a lot of elasticity of the silicon. What this does in this area is help to minimize skin stretching and any possible underlying soft tissue damage. Whereas we minimize longitudinal stretching, the stabilizing matrix actually allows radial stretching. So it means the liner doesn't have to be unnecessarily tight or loose in order to conform to complex shape changes or underlying skeletal anatomy. Another feature this post-op liner has is something we call an easy glide coating. Now, every liner that has to be donned needs first to be turned inside out. And with this post-op liner, by using the easy glide coating, we can see how these two layers of silicone simply glide over each other, making donning the liner potentially fuss-free episode. What we can see here from this Iceross Comfort is another feature we have, which simply is called the fabric cover. Most of our liners have a fabric cover, and this adds a layer of durability, prolonging liner life, and also it's machine washable to maintain its look and appearance. Another feature that some of our liners have is something we call active skin care. Now, skin care, skin health for anybody who wears a prosthesis is super important. We need to promote and maintain their independence and mobility. If we take a closer look at this Iceross Comfort, for example, which doesn't feature active skin care, but you can see the silicone is sticky, tacky almost, and this is really good for promoting adhesion to the liner, maintains a feeling of stability and control within the socket. But sometimes this tackiness can promote localized skin irritations, and that can be difficult to manage. So an alternative is this Iceross Synergy, where we do have active skin care, and you can see here my fingers almost glide over the surface. And that's because the active skin care features Vaseline and aloe vera, and that helps to look after the skin and prevent any sort of micro skin irritations that might appear. Now, people's arms and legs come in different shapes and sizes, we know that, but our Iceross reference measurement is always 4 centimeters up from the distal end. From that point proximal, we never really know what size or shape that individual's residual limb is going to be. So we're able to offer a range of liners that come with a conical option. Here you can see this size 36 standard Iceross Sealing X TF liner, and next to it we have a conical version of the same size. What you can see here is that we have a much wider fitting proximally, and this will be much more comfortable and easy to use for the user. A feature that's unique to our Iceross Activa liner is something we call tibia guard. Now, specifically for transtibial or below knee users, where the anterior surface of the tibia is very close to the surface, these are areas where we can get pressure peaks and they need managing. Normally we would use thicker layers of silicone, but in a liner where silicone is the same thickness all the way around, this can be both heavy and sometimes cumbersome. But Iceross Activa, if we look here, has a unique profile. And if we look down at the anterior surface, we can see it's much thicker than we find in the posterior surface. But this thickened section, where we have a good adaptive layer of silicone, extends all the way down where the crest of the tibia would be, down to the distal end of the tibia. Going back to our posterior area where the liner is thin, this means it's comfortable and is really aiding knee flexion and extension, especially in association with this wave feature. Although our silicones are engineered to be very flexible but also very durable, there are some occasions where users need more flexibility still, and for that we need to have some innovative solutions. Both this Iceross Dermo locking liner and Iceross Sealing X5 liner have something we call a wave feature. You can see on this Iceross Sealing X5 we have these ribs, and these are engineered to allow more proximal stretching. So you can imagine when someone's sitting down using this liner, they're going to have less tension across the patella, for example. And very cleverly, on this Iceross Dermo liner, it also has longitudinal waves. So around the thigh, for example, this will be more comfortable on someone's thigh around the proximal area, but also prevent the liner from rolling back, which we see sometimes when the liner is too tight. We have a truly comprehensive range of liners for you to choose from. What this enables you to do is to optimize the socket performance and long-term prosthesis use for your end user. In addition to those, we also have a range of accessories and tools for you to work with. Whether it's something like this Iceross Distal Cup, which has really thin silicone, designed for people with long, tapered, thin residual limbs, maybe with very delicate skin, designed to be worn on the skin but underneath the liner. Or something simple like these pressure relief pads, where we integrate silicone sections into the walls of the socket, giving an adaptive surface to help manage pressure peaks. During casting, we can use these relief pads to make voids, or we even have silicone pads to fill voids. Also, to help with volume management, as long-term use, people change their residual limb volume with these socks, or simple tools like these curved scissors to help manage the edge of the Iceross liner. For more information on these and other products in our portfolio, please visit us on the usual channels.